Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are so glad that some of you are able to join us live today. If you are with us at this moment, your week is halfway over. And I know you're probably as excited as I am. In just a few minutes, I'm going to begin talking a little bit about Jamboard. At this moment, if you will, take a little bit of time and go ahead and let us know that you're here. Put your name and your school district, what you do. And if you've done something with Jamboard that's pretty cool, or if you know something specifically that you would like to know about Jamboard, go ahead and put that into our chat for us. For those of you who need the professional development credit, this is how we take roll. So please be sure and say something in the chat to let me know you are here and viewing it live. Any questions that you need to ask today, you're also going to do that inside this chat. And if you want to answer each other's questions, because many times I will not see the chat and there is a delay in what I'm saying and what you're seeing, so a few seconds here and there. So if you know the answer, then please go ahead and use the @ symbol and start typing their name, and you will be able to direct message someone. If you get direct messaged, you will have your name pop up and light up in a color, so you will know that was sent to you. The rest of us don't see that. So let's get started. This session is being recorded, and all of the slides that I am showing today will be accessible to you in the description of the YouTube link. That YouTube link that is up there somewhere for you is the same YouTube link that you use to join this live stream. It will continue to work, and so you'll be able to access it through that particular link. Glad you're here once again. In case you're just now joining me, be sure you add your name inside the chat. Let's get going with a little bit more about Jamboard. We're going to explore creativity and collaboration with Google's digital whiteboard. This is that blank slate moment, but there's also a lot of creative things you can do with your students. And my favorite thing about all of the Google tools is that you can collaborate. You as an educator can collaborate, but your students can collaborate and work together. And so we want to explore the possibilities and think about the things you might be able to do with other teachers, but also with students as well. So what is Jamboard? There are a lot of confusing thoughts about what it is. And so I want you to know that for some reason, Google went ahead and calls every part and piece of it Jamboard. If you'll look on this screen, it actually started out originally as a board, an actual physical device, much like a Promethean board or a smart board that was utilized in business. That's the Jamboard that's physical that costs money. It's quite expensive. We do have one here at the service center, and if you ever happen to be up here visiting and would like to see and feel and touch and figure out what it does differently from a Promethean or a smart board, let us know. We'll be happy to share that with you. It is also an app which you can have on your phone. In fact, I'm going to recommend that no matter what device you have, that you go ahead and download that app and log in with your Google account, because there's some different functionalities that we're going to go into today, but I hope you'll be able to see the exciting possibilities with the app. And then finally, there's the web, and we're going to concentrate mostly on the web application called Jamboard and all of the things you can do and your students can do no matter what device that they are on. I think all of you will be excited to see the possibilities. It's not just a piece of paper that you write on. There are other things you can do. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about jamboard.google.com up here at the top. That is the web address. That's a little tip for you that anything with Google that you want, whether it's a drive, a doc, a sheet, a slides, a forms, that word .google.com will get you there. So when many people say, I don't know how to find Jamboard, type in jamboard.google.com. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you need to know you can go straight into your Google Drive. You click the new button and you go down to the word more. And no matter what you have populating here, most of you should see the word Google Jamboard down here at the bottom, somewhere in that list. And all Jamboard files that you create are saved inside your Google Drive. You'll be able to look for a little icon that's kind of like the J from the app for Jamboard. Now, one thing you need to know if you're out at a district, if you go to jamboard.google.com and cannot access anything, or you go to your Google Drive and go to New, More, and don't see Jamboard listed at all, you'll want to ask your technology director or your Google administrator to just hit a little checkbox that turns it on for your school to utilize. It is not on by default. If I'm inside of jamboard.google.com, now you see I have, Christy Kate has a lot of jams. That's my short terminology for it, located that I can see. And there are some things I need to know about it. First of all, when I enter the Jamboard app on the web, I have the ability down at the lower right-hand corner to hit a plus to create a new jam. Just like any other document concept, it'll be blank. There are some tools to notice at the top. It defaults to those who are owned by anyone. If you start using this with your students, which you can see multiples in my drive that look like they are the similar or the same, it's because I assigned a Jamboard to students and now I have multiple copies. You can change from owned by anyone to those that are just owned by me or the ones that have been shared with me. And then, of course, you'll recognize tools like refresh my screen, sort them. There's a different layout view. If you don't like to see the icons themselves, you can change it to see them in a list format. And there's a really cool little button over here that looks like a little link. And this little link allows you, if you have a Jamboard, actual physical board accessible to you, to be able to receive a jam and work on a jam that somebody is using on an actual physical board. On every icon for your jams, you'll have the three little ellipses that I like to term chocolate chips, that for each one of these, you can rename them, download them as a PDF. That's all individual frames, and you can delete or remove them. So this is what the interface looks like at jamboard.google.com once it starts filling up. Tools on the web. Okay, so on the web version, you'll have a toolbar on your left-hand side like the first one you see here. I'm going to go over these tools a little bit and then we're going to play with them, or I'm at least going to have some students playing with them for me. The first tool is a pen, and then when you first click on it, nothing else pops out, but if you click on it a second time, you get the option to do a pen, a marker, a highlighter, or like a paintbrush. Now, you don't have very many color options, but you do have these 6 to switch from. The second icon is an eraser. It's just one size and allows you to erase anything you've used a pen to mark up or to write on, etc. You can erase that pen mark. The select tool is like the general mouse that lets you drag things all over the place. And then there's a little sticky note, and once it's pressed, it kind of grays out the toolbar and it pops up the options, and you just start typing. Now, you cannot center things or change the format and hit a enter and do multiple lines on a sticky note, but you can change the color. And I want you to pay special attention. There's not very many colors, but the one at the end is a transparent color, which looks like you are writing on top of white with a black box around it, or that it's clear. Once you type as many sticky notes as you want, you say cancel, and they're all going to actually pile up in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll be able to move them around, to stretch them, etc. Before we get to the rest of the tools, I'm going to jump over here to a blank Jamboard. And I have 2 students. Up here at the top, I see Hillary and Sean. They're my students. So I'm going to ask them to do some things on my blank space here. All right, Hillary, if you'll pick up the pen and, I don't know, write your name. Or tell everybody what your favorite color is. And I don't really care what color you use. So Hillary's going to start writing. Ooh, wonder what her favorite color is, because I know her well enough to know. Now, as a teacher, I can see her little head moving around. And so when multiple students are on this board, I'll tell you right now that it is a max out, I believe, at 50 students at one time on a board. Now, Sean, I would like for you to take the eraser and erase her R. It's a little bit funky to me. And if you'll erase her R and then rewrite it for her, I would appreciate that. And Hillary, while he's doing that, will you take the sticky note icon, add a sticky note, I don't care what color it is, and let us know the names of your sweet children. And Sean, when she's finished with that, would you add a sticky note also? Maybe a different color, and tell us the names of your 3 wonderful children. And you're going to be able to see them put their sticky notes up there. And Hillary, go ahead and drag yours out of the way. And you can resize that sticky note. You can twist it and turn it. And she can even click on that sticky note and find the three little ellipses or chocolate chip dots on there when you click on it, Hillary, and you can duplicate your note. So you can see my children that are playing, and right now you may be thinking of a few things you might be able to do with just these few tools. All right, take just a second, and I'm going to jump back over to the presentation, and we're going to go to a few other tools. You can add an image from the toolbar. And when you click on the image icon, it grays out, and you have the ability to upload a file, do a Google image search, find an image inside your Google Drive. It's not just anything in the drive. Right now on the web, it's just the image, or use your Google Photos section. Going to jump back over into our blank jam. And Hillary, I'm going to ask you to insert an image, maybe of, I don't know, a fun fall pumpkin for Halloween. And Sean, I'm going to ask you to go to the image icon. And do you have the Region 14 logo somewhere in your Google Drive that you could add to our presentation or our Google Jam? And by the way, these jams are called, the individual pages are called frames. So we're on frame number 1 of 1. And up here at the top, I can see these frames. I'm going to take my mouse to show you what we're talking about. So Hillary's, I can see the 3 little dots. Hers is loading. Something's coming in. There's Sean. He's already put that image in. Hillary, I don't know what you chose, but it must be pretty large. And Sean can move it around. He can twist it and turn it. He can change the size. He can even click on it, and he'll get the 3 little dots on his side to allow him to duplicate or do whatever he needs to do to it. And I'll show you what I mean by that. If I click on his sticky note up here, you'll notice the 3 little dots. Edit, duplicate, delete, and I can change the order. Bring it front, forward, backward. Okay, and also I have the rotation. This is how they're rotating on this end. The rest of these corners let you resize. So that's what they're doing. There's Hillary's pumpkin coming in, and they're dragging it around. All right, let's look at another tool. Go back to the presentation for just a minute. The next tool is the shape tool, but they call it circle. If you mouse over it, it says circle unless you change it to a different shape, and it'll call it that name. In this case, because I had the circle already there, it said circle, but it's the shape tool. And you can actually turn it into a circle, a square, a triangle, a diamond, a rounded rectangle, a half circle, a bar, and an arrow. And all of these are resizable. And once you put them there, you're able to change the color of the fill and of the outline. And you can move those around and duplicate those just like anything else. There's a text box. And once you type text, you get to change the display, title, subtitle, normal, or caption size. You can change the color, and you can change whether or not it is aligned to the left, to the right, or to center. The last tool that's on here is a laser, just for you to use when you're teaching to help focus the student's attention. So let's flip back over to our blank jam. And I'm going to go ahead and add a new page. So I'm going to go to frame 2 and ask Sean and Hillary to come on over to frame 2. And as a teacher, I can expand this and see where my children are. Which particular frame are they on? See, Sean's back on 1. Sean, I need you to redirect you back over here to 2. Thank you very much. Okay, so now that we're on 2, Sean is going to add a couple of shapes. And I don't really care what color, Sean, you make them or which ones you use, but if you'll go ahead and add those shapes, then Hillary is going to use the text tool, and she's going to write the words beside the shapes and maybe match the color that Sean puts in here. So they're going to use the shape tool, and while they're doing that and getting their shapes going, I see some shapes starting to come in. You'll see I'm using the laser, and I'm going to circle that this is the shape I want you to call attention to, and Hillary's going to add the text out beside it. Sean, go ahead and add another shape. Let's see what you got going. And as they're typing, oh, there's another one coming up. Hillary's got to think about, what is this? He tilted and turned. I guess it was a square initially, or maybe a diamond. I'm not really sure. And now he's adding in an oval. Yes, Kelly, I love the laser too, because I want to direct the student attention. Right here, please. Right here, we're talking about an oval. So that's a quick look. I'm going to click back over to our presentation at the tools on the web. Now let's talk about the app. The app has all of the same tools that you just saw on the web, but if you'll notice in this first screenshot here, I'm talking about the pen tool, and I have the option to add assistive drawing tools, handwriting recognition, and shape recognition. So, for many of your students who may be using either a phone at home to do something or an iPad if they're a remote learner, it's great that handwriting recognition and shape recognition tools work. There's also under the eraser option here, just the option to clear the entire frame. That's where it happens to be located on the app. I'll flip back over here to my blank jam for just a minute. Clear frame is up here at the top in the web app. Okay. On the app on the phone, it's actually underneath the eraser. There's a little drop down arrow by the eraser down here that gives you that option. The other thing I want you to note about the actual app on the phone or on the iPad is that you can add Google Drive content, not just images, but you could add a PDF file, you could add a Google Slides, you could add a Google Doc into the actual software board. Then there's also a camera app moment where I can actually turn on the camera and take a picture straight into the Jamboard. And that's really, really cool. So yes, I do see a question over here. I'm going to stop because I just saw it pop up on my end. I'm going to pop this up. Jessica says, when you add in a photo, can you annotate on top of it? Yes, you can. So that's a good question to ask. Thanks for putting that in there at this moment. All right, so this particular feature of adding things straight from your camera or from Drive on the app is a little plus that they call the insert button. You'll notice that I still can add sticky notes and I can still use photos that are already on my camera roll. In this case, they call it the image library. All right, now let's talk about the board. Here's a picture of me playing at the board at Region 14. The board has all of the things you've already seen, but in the pen option, not only does it have the handwriting recognition, shape recognition, it utilizes a tool called Auto Draw, and you can start drawing. So here's an example of Christy Kate. I started drawing a house. Kind of looks like an arrow right here. Sorry about that. But it populated at the bottom for me. Do you mean a house like one of these? And there was many more I could scroll through so that I could select one of them and turn that image into my auto draw moment. I've seen this effectively used on people who have a board with students, especially littles, try to do storytelling and they would draw a story and select what they mean. It's pretty powerful. You can use autodraw.com as a teacher on the web, and they can download those images to their drive and then insert them into a Google Jamboard. Also, at the upper right-hand corner of the Jam, you can start a Google Meet, and people can join in your Jam immediately through Google Meet and have that video conferencing piece. That actually came out of the initial Google Jamboard physical board that was created for companies. That's how they did conferencing. So that's pretty cool. All right. Let's talk about the toolbar at the top on the web that I've already shown you some things. And the first thing is that the frames at the top that you can advance through, you could add an infinite number. It will tell you which one you're on. And you can reorganize them, drag and drop. The plus symbol lets me insert a new blank one in the middle of what I'm already working on. And that's pretty cool. And what I really like, two things I've seen. One teacher told me they use this as a gallery walk. That means they use one Jamboard that they push to the kids, and everybody's assigned a different frame to edit. And then they all start looking through. Up at the top, also, you have the chocolate chips. You'll see them over here, which gives you more actions. You can rename your board, download the entire thing, all frames, as a PDF. Save just the frame you're on as an image. That's pretty cool. Remove, which is deleting the jam. Make a copy of the jam. And then this is a place you could go to see as Google continues to update things. And what I mean by this is that for a long time, I was using Jamboard, and on the web, they did not have the ability to do shapes or text, and now they do. You can also send feedback to Google here. And this is the place where Google likes to make changes and edits and updates to the board is based upon teachers that are currently using it, sending feedback through Jamboard to say, hey, I wish it could blank. As more people request the same feature, that's where things get added. And then, of course, most of you will recognize here at the top the share button, where I have obviously shared we've been playing with today with both Sean and Hillary. Then I'll click back over here for just a minute to show you. This is everything we just went over, where I can add a frame right here in the middle, where I can duplicate a frame, and I can delete a frame. Okay, that's what you just saw. I can also reorganize, maybe drag this one down here. And here is the ability to do all of those things we just went over. Now this toolbar at the top has a fabulous button, undo and redo, and a zoom feature. And a lot of times teachers will put images and things up on the board that students really need to be aware of zoom and how they can zoom in on what they're looking at. There is a background option. Now you don't have very many options for background. So it's blank. There's the dots. The notebook paper lines. Okay, for my teachers who have littles who are trying to learn how to write letters, this is the closest thing we have to notebook. We have the grid for my math teachers. I have a gray version of the grid, a solid blue, and a solid black. Those are your options. And at any time that you do something, so I'm going to pick up the pen for just a minute in yellow, and I'm going to draw here. Hi. At any time, I can hit clear frame, and everything's gone. All right, so that's pretty cool. So here's a look at that toolbar. Don't forget to play with the zoom and the options for zoom. Check out your backgrounds. Here are your background options. And notice I have the option to open on a Jamboard. So I actually could create something here, click that button and send it to the Jamboard here at the ESC. And this is back to that business concept when they were working with conferencing. And you think about it, if you had a Jamboard in the classroom, kids could send their jams up to the board pretty quickly, pretty easily. All right, now let's talk about using Jamboard in Google Classroom. The easiest thing to do is to know that you can use it to make an assignment to your students. So when you're on the classwork tab, at any time you can go from the classwork tab to the word create an assignment. So here I have an assignment where I'm going to start putting things in. And under the add button, teachers just see these options. Now create does not have the option to create a Jamboard at this particular time, but you can add from Google Drive any Jamboard you want. Here's where I've added a Jamboard below a video here. And you can make a copy for each student if they need to be working on a template you've created, or you can say students can edit the file so that all students can work together on the same file. So that's pretty cool, knowing that you can use it inside of Google Classroom. Now let's talk about Jamboard as a whiteboard inside of your Google Meet, because many teachers are utilizing Google Meet, and Google Meet is attached to their Google Classroom. So now inside of any Google Meet that you're on, you have the chocolate chips at the bottom, which allows you to pop it up and add a whiteboard, which creates a jam for this particular Meet that you're in. By the way, I currently am in the free version of Google Meet, the version that every G Suite EDU gets. This is not the enterprise version that you're seeing. So everybody has access to the whiteboard Open a Jam at this point. When I click open a whiteboard or jam, and by the way, I decided not to do this live. I did not want my camera to freak out while we were streaming. You have the ability to start a new whiteboard or choose one that you've already set up as a template in Drive. And I'm first going to walk you through starting a new whiteboard. When I do that, I want you to notice it pops up an extra window. This extra window here, look, it's on top of my Meet. You can't see too well right here, but I'll show you that this particular name, because I created it inside of the Meet, matches that auto-generated Meet code for this Meet. So they're tied together. I know when I go back through my Google Drive and I find this jam file located there, that it goes with a Meet I did with my students, and that's pretty cool. It also, in the chat window, will pop up for all your participants the link to the jam. Instantly in the chat window for you, it auto-generates that link. You do not have to worry about share settings. It's all there for them. Okay, so you should be able to see that over here. Here's the thing. Most teachers want to see their face next to that jam. Let me go back. This is not what teachers like. Teachers will say, I need to see my students while they're working on the jam. So I like to add an extension, and when you get this presentation, this is linked to the Google Chrome extension called Dualist. Dualist easily lets me, because I popped this open, after it was open, I went to my Dualist extension up here in the top corner, and I asked it to split my screen into two options. That way I could still see. Now, obviously, I was the only one in this meet doing screenshots for you, but I could see my kids as many tiles as I could fit on this portion of my screen next to the Jamboard while they're working. That's a pretty cool tool. You may notice in this particular screenshot too, I have a link to a Jamboard here and one here. There are two different ones. You can have more than one jam utilized in one meet session. So back to this same moment, I went and added another whiteboard. To get that screenshot that you just saw, I added another whiteboard and said choose from Drive, so I could choose one that was already made. It opens up, which jam do you want to select? It opens up my options for me to choose one. Notice right here is the one that I'm currently started with inside that meet. That's the weird generated name. And then I could choose something else. And here's where it populated both of them inside the chat. At any given time, I, as the teacher, also, and the students, down at the bottom where that code is, will now see a paper clip with an attachment section, which will tell you every jam utilized related to this Google Meet. And that's pretty cool. So now let's get into playing. I've got some examples built that my pupils are going to work with me on. And I'm going to stop for just a second, though, because I see that Ms. McGuire is asking me a question. Will it not work with the built-in split screen that comes on Macs and Chromebooks? Give it a try, Jessica. I have not tested it on my Chromebook or on my Mac. I will say, though, that, and there are multiple extensions out there that will split things up. Dualist is just easy and quick for teachers. They'll always have a way to do that. So you might play with that and see if it works. All right, so all of these particular links that you'll receive in this presentation will link to the samples I'm showing you today. I'm linking viewing samples for you so that you can then make your own copies that are clean, but I have copies of them myself for my lovely students to play in. And so I'm going to start with my Jamboard with littles. Here's an example of a possibility. I made this in probably 15 to 20 minutes at the tops. I took an image and inserted an image of a graph. I utilized the text box to say graph the objects, drag to the color bar. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to have Sean go ahead and be my student. And Sean start playing around and see if he can do this correctly. I'm wanting him to drag to the correct color bar. And then he's going to count the objects. And I have numbers already written that he's going to drag into the proper columns. And all I did was find an image and duplicate it multiple times, made them all about the same size. I made shape squares that I put up on the screen. And then, just for 1 second, Sean, I'm going to have you to pause because I want to show you something. The only things I want my students to move are these stickies and these images. At this particular time, you cannot lock images inside of Jamboard, but here's my trick. I'm going to click over here. As a student, let's say the kid wants to drag this square or clicks on this. Notice the square doesn't drag, but you see an outline of a blue box dragging. I actually put a text box over the entire image that I did not want moved. They can move the flowers, but they cannot move this particular box. They can move the frogs, but they cannot move this text box. Okay, so I duplicated it too. I put two text boxes in case a kid drag it out of the way. I only put it around the part that I did not want my student to drag. Go ahead, Sean, keep dragging away. So you're going to see this is like a math activity that might be utilized in pre-K, the second half of pre-K or kindergarten, for the kids to try to drag things around. This is one of those moments that could have been a worksheet back in the day, but it's way more fun to do it on a Jamboard. And so Sean's going to be dragging the numbers to see if he can count the objects and figure out where all the numbers go. And of course, I just use sticky notes for the numbers. And my student's dragging away, and I see that, uh-oh, I need to move it into the front because, did you notice I filled this square in white? So let me order this one to the front. Okay, Sean, you can drag it now. Good to go. Drag that 5. There we are. So now Sean has completed my assignment. Going to go to the next option or activity that I decided to put together for you. And Hillary's going to do this one. You're going to create your UGG words. And once she drags these sticky notes with letters, and she could drag all of them there any way she wants. She could have put them in the correct order. It doesn't matter. I asked her to use the pen to match the words to the pictures. So she's going to select a pen, and I don't care what color she uses, and she's going to start trying to drag and match her lines. Way cool for our students to be able to do an activity that maybe we would have done at the Promethean or Smartboard, but they can do it wherever they are at their own computers. All right, going to go to the next activity option I created for you guys. Sean's going to put the numbers in order from 0 to 10. I made the background black. I used text at the top, and then I used a blank or a transparent square with a white outline. And then I just used different colored sticky notes and typed the numbers. And Sean's dragging them around. So in this case, you could see whether or not this might be about the second half of pre-K or in kindergarten as well. All right, and then Hillary's going to sort my objects that I've just inserted images. There are 2 circles, both with white outlines. One is filled white, one is filled yellow. I used the text box to type living and non-living, and then I changed my background to blue. And Hillary is dragging and dropping my icons or my images around and sorting them between living and non-living. So these are just some samples of activities that I thought might be fun for you to see a possibility of something you could do on the Jamboard besides just a blank paper piece and writing. The next option I created for you guys is a Jamboard for math and science. So Sean's in here with me. This is for older students. Would you rather have Cheez-Its to cover a rectangle, and Sean can get started, with a length of 9 and a perimeter of 22, or a length of 5 and a perimeter of 20? And notice I gave him a tip up there in the corner. I said, if you need more Cheez-Its, click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of a Cheez-It and then click duplicate. So Sean is dragging around. I didn't even count how many I put down there. He could use the graph paper if he would like to. And he's dragging things around and trying to figure out his answer. I used the graph paper background. I used a sticky note. And I went and found an image of a cheese nip or Cheez-It, not a nip. I can't get it wrong here. It's a Cheez-It, and put that in this particular spot. Now you may be asking, well, what about the actual box here that gives the question or gives the problem? So I went ahead. I'm going to go to frame number 2. I keep calling it a slide. Frame 2, and show you that I actually made that image first. I used the gray background. I typed would you rather with the text box, and I put some spaces to cover a rectangle, and then I found an image that was transparent of Cheez-It with a little registered trademark symbol, and I found the box. Once I typed this whole thing up, I went up here to the 3 dots or chocolate chips, and I said, save this frame as an image. Okay, once I saved it as an image, then I drug it up onto this particular slide. That's how I utilized Jamboard to create the image that I wanted for the problem. And I kept it on here for you to see. So one of the cool tips for teachers is keep yourself a Jamboard that is nothing but you making samples and examples, because it would be really easy for me to edit this one any day I want to do it, any day of the week, and change the numbers and be able to utilize this over and over again to test their skill set and understanding perimeter and understanding length and that type of thing. All right, the next example with math and science. All right, Sean, you're going to come on over here to frame 3, please. He's going to choose one of the 4 images I gave him, and I'm going to tell you that this is all about voice and choice for a student. I want them to feel comfortable in having a choice here. Choose one, delete the others. You may resize an image by dragging its lower right corner. So he's going to choose what image he wants to, because I have 3 sticky note options for him. Write one thing you notice about the one you chose on a yellow sticky note. Write one thing you wonder on a pink sticky note. And then he's going to use the pen to explain the fraction he sees. What does he see remaining? And so there's a lot of thought process and higher order thinking that I'm hoping the kids will do and try to figure out, well, how many slices would have been in each? And what am I going to need to do to solve what I think the fraction of the pizza I see in front of me might be? And then, of course, he can use the sticky notes. And it's okay, Sean, I'm fixing to go on, so you don't have to to freak out and try to figure out what you're looking at here. Here's a blank moment. And the reason I want that is because a lot of teachers talk about wanting to be able to utilize PDFs or worksheets that are already in place or something that they have. So I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to switch this screen for just a minute to see me over here. Hi, everybody. I have this particular moment, and I don't know how well you can see it, opened up as a jam on my phone using the phone app. Remember when I told you that the phone app could actually find content that was in my Google Drive? So I am actually going to go here and add content from my Google Drive, and I am searching for a math reps worksheet that I already have. And I'm going to search for that worksheet, and I have a PDF. I don't know if you can see this or not. Right there that says Math Rep Sample PDF. And I'm going to add that to my jam. Now you may see on this jam it's little bitty and there's really nothing I can do with it on the web version. But here on the app, I can expand this thing. Whoops, I didn't mean to write on it. I had my pen selected also. Let me undo that. Get that pen off and get the select tool. And I'm able to drag this guy around. And once I select him and pull him out of the PDF, I'm going to go back over here now. I'm done with my phone. I've put a PDF over here, and I can resize this PDF. And here's my worksheet moment that my kids can then take a pen and do really quickly, writing the solution. I don't have a clue what the answer to this is, by the way. I'm just putting a number here for you. Easy to instantly utilize something I already have as a PDF. Way cool, lots of options. I put the web address up here on this particular slide. You're going to be able to see this on this frame when you get this, because mathreps.wordpress.com has a whole section of pre-made Jamboard templates for math K through 12, so that you can make a copy of their Jamboards and utilize them already. Really, really fun, really, really cool. All right, let's go on to my fifth option. Here's a science option for Sean. Notice I put an image of the water cycle, only it's incomplete. I gave him the options to duplicate as many arrows as needed to explain the water cycle. And there he goes. He's doing what he needs to do. He also is going to be able to click inside the text boxes and complete the text boxes to label the image appropriately. So he can click inside the C, and I know my friend Hillary is a science person too. This is condensation. That's what he's typed. And then he can drag it where condensation is going. He can label it. Now, I could have made this easier and already put the words there for him. But in this case, I'm having my student type. My student is typing, and he can drag those words to where they go. That's an example of using the water cycle. There he goes. He's dragging around. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go over to this option. Sean, if you'll join me on frame 6. Here's another science option. I've told him to choose your element. So I gave him a little periodic table, but there's no numbers, no weights. He has to know a little bit about science now. And choose your element that you want and put a sticky note there and say, okay, this is the element I'm going to use. And if I were Sean, I'd probably use hydrogen. I'm just saying, but you use whatever you want, Sean. Complete the atom diagrams. So he can add protons, neutrons, and electrons. He's got his sticky note there he's adding. Oh, he's doing helium. Okay, that's cool. And then he's going to be able to drag and show me how to build this atom. And then he can always edit the text boxes in the upper left-hand corner to tell me how many protons, neutrons, and electrons he's going to be utilizing. So this is a way to do the old atom model, or some of the concepts of the simulations that kids have done before in the past, simply using shapes, text boxes, images, and sticky notes. And I use the text box feature as well. So I use pretty much every tool that you see over here on the far corner. And then he's able to complete the assignment. Yes, I like the laser count. Notice Candace mentioned that earlier, so I had to use it again. So those are examples of how you might use it in math or science. I'm going to show you really quickly. This is the website I mentioned with Math Reps here, Math Reps on Jamboard. All of these K2, 3, 5, 6, 8 in high school, and they're continuing to populate this. And of course, there's others that are like actual worksheet moments that you can utilize as well. All right, so let's go to Jamboard in the ELA and Social Studies classroom. Now, I taught high school. So in this activity, it says use the annotation key, and Hillary's my student, I think, in here, to underline each building block of the paragraph shown. She's going to use blue. And and you know what? She can use the highlighter if you need to. There you go. Might be easier. Topic sentence, context, evidence, analysis, and concluding sentence. So there's my student highlighting and showing me what they know inside of the ELA. You might find another option. We talked about even younger kids, giving them sentences and asking them to circle all the nouns and underline all the verbs and be able to put a box or a shape around the adjectives or adverbs. Options are endless with just a few simple tools. Okay, Hillary, you don't have to keep going on that one. I'm going to move over to slide 2 or frame 2. Add an image of our book cover for A Christmas Carol and then complete the sticky notes. So in this case, we've been reading A Christmas Carol in my class, and she's going to put an image here, and she's going to edit the setting sticky note, the protagonist sticky note, the antagonist sticky note, and then she's going to give me a 4-sentence summary of what we've read so far about the book. So I see my student working, and you see that she is clicking through things. I hear her fingers next to me. So I want you to realize that you can easily have students tell you what they know, show their learning. This could be an exit ticket, or it could be a diagnostic moment, or it could be a formative assessment piece, however you decide to utilize it. Going to go on to frame 3. Hillary, you and Sean both can join me on here for a social studies moment. All I'm asking the kids, this is a pre-teach moment. What do you notice about this image? And kids, you can add sticky notes. So in this particular case, I didn't type out the directions. All I'm asking them is, what do you notice? And this might be a moment where we're synchronously learning, where as a teacher, I'm asking them to tell me, what do you see? And of course, they're going to start stacking, so we're going to have to spread them around. And notice in this case, my student asked me a question. How old is this image? Ooh, that's a good question. Something we're gonna talk about. And I wonder what, these dresses, you think they look weird, and all the girls are wearing dresses. Crowd looks angry. There's yelling. And so helping prompt a discussion just by using Jamboard. All right, we're gonna go on to frame number 4. Okay, class, why is the 2020 census important? Utilize either text boxes or sticky notes to let me know why you think the 2020 census is important. Many of you had parents to receive something in the mail at their house that asked them to fill out the census around April, I guess, when we were in the middle of our pandemic. Why is this important? You might probably have seen commercials on television. And so here my students are starting to fill out. This is a brainstorming moment. You could ask any question about any content at any time and get quick feedback. This is almost analogous to the days when I used to have little white write boards and dry erase style boards and ask the kids to hold up their thoughts. And I could quickly see at a glance, but it's also already saved for me. So that moment of taking sticky notes and having them write it on a sticky note and go stick it to the wall is now a thing of the past, in the sense that I have this to refer back to see what I need to address and where my students are and what they learn. All right, guys, we're going to frame 5. I grabbed an image of a timeline. Use text boxes and or images to explain the COVID-19 pandemic in a timeline format. Whoa, kind of crazy, but open-ended at the same time. Where are my students and what they know about current events and what is happening? Oh, no school. That's a great image to put in there. At some point, there was no school. What else might my students tell me? Now, I said text boxes, but you know what? It'd be okay with me if a student did want to use a sticky note. Maybe they want to put a shape there. I don't know. But you can see the options are endless. When gasoline costs less than toilet paper. That's hilarious. All right. So the last thing I'm going to show you is some Jamboard activities in general as a template that I've made for you. The first one is simple flowchart concept, much like the timeline. You can use this for any subject area. You add title or instructions by editing the text box at the top and utilizing it with your students. Great way to make yourself templates ahead of time. The next option I have is I just used a circle. And by the way, once I clicked on a circle and drew the first one over here, when I clicked again, notice it duplicates as many as I need, and I can drag it. Click the circle again, click, and I can drag it. All I did was use a pen, and I'm drawing lines, connecting it. I'm easily making a spider chart, and my kids can make their own in any shape that they want to show me how things are related. What's the relationship piece? Another option I have for you. I saw this and thought this was fabulous. A teacher set up a Jamboard to be their own class yearbook to document the things that they thought were awesome about 2020. So her kids have an editable copy, and they can go in and they can talk about the any images they want. They don't have to be their own images. They can talk about their favorite lessons, something they learned, something really cool and exciting. And she's keeping a class yearbook so that in the end, when they're all said and done, she can download the whole thing as a PDF and say, these are our class memories. This is our class thoughts. This is how we documented the year of 2020. And I think that's a pretty cool idea. Another idea, you can get blank templates for all kinds of games. And so I found the blank layout for Connect 4. I put the image, these are images and not the filled shapes, that were a red circle and a yellow circle. And I asked the kids to duplicate as many times as they need them to go try to build Connect 4. One student at a time. The student pulled theirs over here. This one said, uh-oh. This one decided, okay, wait a minute, duplicate. I'm putting mine here. But then I asked some things. How might we add words, numbers, equations, definitions, etc. to the blank spaces to help us learn? So I saw a spelling chart where the spelling words were filled in on all the white spots. And as they actually started spelling, they decided not to use it as Connect 4, but to use it almost like a bingo board. So the options are endless. Here's another example. I found a chemistry word search. I just utilized that image of the chemistry word search, or you could add the PDF from your phone, as long as it's saved to your Google Drive. Use the highlighter to locate the words. Use the pen to cross them off the list. Use text boxes to write the definitions for 10 words. So 10 out of the list. Back to, I don't have to go to the copy machine. I don't have to make copies and then ask them to pull out paper and write me definitions or write me sentences. They can do that inside of the Jamboard. And then as an old French teacher, I thought this was fun. Duplicating an image, so just so you'd have more options here, of a room. And we're studying the prepositions of location. And so the students can see all the different things in the room, and they might put a sticky note that says in French, the lamp is in front of the window. The plant is on the table. The purse is beside the table. The chair is in front of the table. Options to practice using prepositions. Once again, possibilities are endless. All right, so you're going to have links to clean copies that nobody's played with yet, a view only of all of those activities that you can make a copy of and you can start playing with and seeing what options you have. I also have for you 3 resources. How to use Jamboard in the classroom, 20 plus tips and ideas from Matt Miller of Ditch That Textbook. 10 Jamboard templates for distance learning that have already been created, and then a Wakelet collection that's continuously being added to. That being said, this is one of my favorites, and this is why I put this at the end. See what teachers across the globe are doing with Jamboard. And when you click here, it's going to open for you a crowdsourced view-only copy that people are still giving resources to. And it's going to go through different ways teachers, and some of these I got my ideas from when I started making my own. But as you go through this, you're going to see different ways to do a digital gallery walk. You're going to see all kinds of activities from videos and tutorials to different activities for different content areas, different grade levels, and see how people on Twitter are saying they're utilizing Jamboard. And I think you will love going through, because here's the really, really cool part of this. Up to 102 slides. I don't think you will have any way of running out of information when it comes to ways you might be able to use the Jamboard, which seems so simple when you first look at it. I think many people, when they first go to the gym and they look at this blank Jamboard here, they see just a few tools and it can't do things that they thought they wanted it to do, uh, feel limited. And I don't want anybody to ever feel limited. This is a great tool, a great resource. It's free. It's already inside, once again, of your Google Drive. It's where it saves it, everything, and it's inside of jamboard.google.com. So let's look at questions. I tried to finish up with about 10 minutes. If there are any questions here, Hillary or Sean, that we need to put up and talk through, even if you've answered them. I see some things coming through. Of course, mine's a little bit slow. I see that Kelly Lawrence was introduced to Jamboard this summer and interested to learn more. I'm glad to know that. And let's see here. What else do I see in this chat? That's where Sean and Candace both answered Jessica for us. Ashley says, I love the integration with Meet. Me too, Ashley. That instant whiteboard moment to be able to communicate with your kids and to have that instant feedback of something you may be teaching at that moment. Amber says, this is awesome. We've already looked at Jessica's question. Oh, Carol has a question here. It says, so do the students have to have Jamboard activated on their laptops too, or just the teacher? That's a great question, Carol. When the administration turns it on, it comes on, I think, for everybody. I'm not sure that they can separate it by OU. It depends. And you may decide, when you have it turned on for you, you can share it to them, but they may not be able to create one. Really good question. What else do we have here? Ooh, Jessica says, this would be great for a KWL chart. Absolutely. Any diagram, graphic organizer, or chart that you're used to creating with your students or asking them to fill out, great. And I would make myself a template. And once again, I'm going to show you really quickly. Any object I put on here, I'm going to go back over here to my sticky note, and this is a test object. So I'll show you what I did when I made something not movable. So here's my test object. I don't want them dragging this one around. I'm going to add a text box. And when you click a text box, it starts out pretty narrow. And it's one of those things where I drag and you see it doesn't come down. And for some reason, you'll have to go in, keep dragging. And you can make this as big as you want it. And I usually try to go outside of the frame edge of wherever it is I want to block something off. And then I go to the top and say duplicate to make 2 of them. Now, it's very unlikely that the kids will move that text object. Even if they've dragged this box a little bit, they go, oh, that's not what I want to do. So that's the best way at the moment to lock something. If you create those KWL charts that you don't want them to move the lines, I would cover it or make it on a blank frame, save that frame as an image, and then upload that image. All of the parts and pieces will stay in shape. All right, anything else? Sean, Hillary, do y'all see anything that hasn't popped up on my screen yet since I'm a little bit delayed? Okay, well, with that being said, thanks everybody. I'm so glad you're able to join me today. The link will be the same link for YouTube, and in the description, as soon as we're finished today, I will add the presentation with all the links for you. Hope you guys have a great rest of this week, and I will see you later. Bye, everybody.